Welcome back, everyone. Today, we'll learn about the really influential philosopher John Locke. He literally changed the world with his theory. He said humans do not carry any knowledge or truth from birth, and this theory can be considered as one of the significant developments in the 17th century. Today, we'll talk about John Locke, Tabula Rasa, and how Tabula Rasa affected education, morality, and society. Firstly, let's talk about John Locke and who he is. John Locke was an English philosopher who lived in the 17th century. He was an empiricist and he argued that people do not have innate knowledge and ideas. He also had some theories about politics that were about human rights. He has many essays that are worth mentioning, just like Essay on the Law of Nature, an essay concerning human understanding, and more. Most importantly, he was one of the main characters in the French Revolution. Now let's talk about Tabula Rasa. In the late 17th century, John Locke introduced the idea of the tabula rasa or blank slate in his work, an essay concerning human understanding. He said that the mind is like an empty plate of food, gaining all its knowledge and reasoning from experience. However, Locke acknowledged that the mind isn't entirely empty before experiences, recognizing innate power of reflection and some trivial knowledge. The tabula rasa theory works according to empiricism. The main idea of this theory is that people begin with no knowledge, and then through empirical experiences develop their understanding of the world and the self. The theory of tabula rasa goes back to the 4th century. Aristotle and Stoics talked about the mind like a blank slate, and that's where the name tabula rasa came from. They also believed in an original state where the mind is empty. But both Aristotle's followers and the Stoics said that the mind has powers even before it gets ideas from the senses. It's not just passive, it can do things. They thought the mind could take in ideas, think about them, and turn them into knowledge. So even though they lacked the idea of a blank mind at the start, they said that the mind has the ability to think and understand things. It's not just a passive receiver, it's an active thinker. But how did tabula rasa affect education, morality, and society? In contrast to rationalism, empiricism accepts only information based on sensation and experience as knowledge. Tabula rasa changed the way society thought. Before tabula rasa, everyone thought that the human mind had ideas, facts, and knowledge from the beginning of their life. So if someone wasn't intelligent from birth or wasn't coming from a noble family, society wouldn't respect that person. However, thankfully, after tabula rasa, this mindset diminished and parents started to put more effort into raising their children. In this sense, tabula rasa changed the way education worked. It ensured that every kid has a chance to go to school and access equitable education, as society started to acknowledge that every kid has the potential to be successful one day. Schools started teaching math, science, biology, physics, and more thanks to tabula rasa. Morality was another focal point of the tabula rasa mindset. Before it, the immorality rate was high, and dignitary people thought that undermining others was an inborn right of theirs. People with humble backgrounds weren't provided with a chance of getting proper education, so wealthy people were always one step ahead of them in terms of intellectual development. However, there's a controversial point that tabula rasa suggests. It implies that at birth, everyone is a blank slate, and the person anyone turns out to become is entirely dependent on the learning experience of that person. However, just by looking at the historical figures or current celebrities, we can say that having a good education or growing up in a lovely house doesn't necessarily make someone intelligent or dignified. Moreover, we already established that genetics plays a huge role in IQ levels of people, so intelligence is neither dependent only on heritage nor on the environment. The dilemma of nature versus nurture doesn't end with the tabula rasa theory. And this is the end of our discussion about John Locke and his theory tabula rasa. Please like our video and consider subscribing. As always, it was Have Cell Times.